Hazardous chemicals are a necessary and integral part of the modern workplace. In fact, 1 in 4 workers comes in contact with hazardous chemicals or works in close proximity to them every day. Being aware of the presence of hazardous chemicals and understanding how dangerous they can be will help you to protect yourself and others from their potentially harmful effects. In order to help prevent accidents and injuries due to the mishandling of hazardous chemicals, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, issued the Hazardous Communication Standard, commonly known as the Right to Know Law. Be aware of hazardous chemicals, know the dangers and harmful effects, familiarize yourself with OSHA's The Right to Know Law. It is your right to know which chemicals are being used as a part of your job. It's your right to know how to safely use chemicals like floor cleaners, disinfectants, or sanitizers. It's your right to know how to protect yourself from hazardous chemicals used on the job. There are 5 requirements which, in turn, should protect you from harm. You have the right to know about these requirements because if they aren't followed, you aren't protected. These 5 requirements include your company's written program of hazardous communication, the chemical inventory, material safety data sheets, or SDS, labeling and information and training. You must share the responsibility for maintaining safe working conditions. You can do this by reading the SDS and product labels, using personal protective equipment when required, and following safe chemical handling procedures. Anything your company has done and is doing to protect workers from hazardous chemicals in the workplace can be found in one centralized location, the written program. This written program documents compliance with the Hazard Communication Standard. It details what chemicals are present in your workplace, your company's labeling system, how SDS are maintained, and who is responsible for the program and its components. To demonstrate how hazard information should be communicated, we'll follow a specific chemical through the workplace. Along the way, we'll point out what you can do to protect yourself and others by ensuring the hazard communication process is carried out effectively. In your workplace, you come into contact with a variety of different chemicals. Hazard communication begins at the chemical manufacturing plant. What makes a chemical hazardous? A chemical that has a physical or health hazard associated with it is classified as hazardous. Physical hazards include chemicals with the potential for fire and explosion. Combustible liquids, compressed gases, organic peroxides, oxidizers, and pyrophorics present physical hazards as well as unstable reactive or water-reactive chemicals. Hazardous classification: potential for fire and explosion, combustible liquids, compressed gases, organic peroxides, oxidizers and pyrophoric, unstable reactive or water-reactive chemicals. Health hazards are present when there is evidence that employees who are exposed to the chemical may experience acute or chronic health problems. Acute health hazards are short-term conditions like a skin rash. Chronic health hazards usually result from long-term exposure to a chemical. For example, carcinogens and toxic substances may cause serious chronic health problems. Health risks such as these are why it's critical for you to know what measures you should take to protect yourself before working with any hazardous chemical. It's vitally important that all products classified as hazardous chemicals appear on the chemical inventory, but that's not enough. No chemical should ever be used until workers are properly informed about its hazardous properties. Safety data sheets, or SDS as they are commonly known, serve as your primary source for information about a particular chemical you might be working with. SDS can answer vital health and safety questions like, will personal protective equipment be required? Is there a flammability hazard? Is this chemical corrosive? SDS for each hazardous chemical in a work area must be kept in a location accessible to all employees. SDS may be paper or electronic. Stratus SDS can be obtained through your distributor using the 800 number or from the website. Before you use any chemical, you should refer to the SDS for information about how to safely use, handle, and store the chemical, as well as what to do in the case of an emergency. Although all SDS contain the same basic information, they're often formatted very differently. For example, the SDS for a UHS has 16 different sections. Header information in the MSDS provides a snapshot of the chemical with information about fire hazards, health hazards, and reactivity. It also contains illustrations of appropriate protective equipment and an emergency overview. Section 1, titled Chemical Product and Company Identification, includes the name of the chemical, its trade names, and contact information for the manufacturer, as well as a phone number to call in case of an emergency. Under Composition and Information on Ingredients, you'll discover exactly what is in the chemical that may cause harm and how much of the chemical you can safely be exposed to during a typical 8-hour work shift. This amount is referred to as the permissible exposure limit, or the threshold limit value. The higher these values are, the less dangerous the chemical is. These levels help determine how dangerous the chemical is and the type of personal protective equipment, or PPE, needed. Hazards identification contains information about the routes of entry and acute health effects. Firefighting measures indicates the temperature at which the chemical will ignite and provide valuable information about how to safely extinguish the fire. The Handling and Storage section offers precautionary information about moving and storing the hazardous chemicals. In this case, proper handling of UHS floor cleaner means avoiding contact with eyes, skin, and clothing, and that the product should be stored in a cool, dry place. Exposure Controls Personal Protection provides you with information about ventilation and personal protective equipment. Using the precautions listed will help you and others avoid overexposure. By looking at the Physical and Chemical Properties section, you can learn about the physical state of the product, such as its appearance, odor, and color. UHS floor cleaner is a clear blue-green liquid with an ammonia-like smell. The Stability and Reactivity section tells you how stable the product is and what substances it may be incompatible with. Here you see that UHS floor cleaner is stable, however it does react with acids. Toxicology information provides information about the poisonous effects of the product. Transportation of the chemical is the next section covered in the SDS. Here you'll find the United States Department of Transportation, DOT, classifications, and Canadian Transport Dangerous Goods Directorate, TDG classification. As you can see, UHS floor cleaner is a Class 8 corrosive material in both the US and Canada. If you need to find out how the product is regulated, Section 15 provides you with specific federal, state, or Canadian regulations regarding the chemical. Finally, additional information regarding the chemical you are using is listed under Other Information. As you can see, the Stratus Professional SDS is more than just paperwork. It's a storehouse of valuable information that you need to know. There are many different ways of labeling chemicals. Whichever system is used, however, the label must clearly identify the chemical's name, the hazard warning, and the manufacturer's name and address. The front of the UHS label lists the brand name, the signal word, warning, and first aid information. The back of the UHS label lists the ingredients, direction for use, and the hazard rating. Following the directions provided on these labels will help you protect yourself from overexposure to the chemical you're using and assures you will use it at the intended concentration level. At times, relabeling of products may be necessary. Normally this happens when a large quantity of the chemical preparation is broken down into smaller containers for use, as in the case of a spray bottle being filled with the glass cleaner. This spray bottle, for example, is already labeled with the chemical name and the potential hazards contained inside. There are cases where a label is not required. The most common is when you transfer a chemical from a larger container to a smaller, more portable one and use it immediately. This portable container does not need a label. However, the only person allowed to dispense it is the one who uses it, and it must be used during the same work shift. This prevents an uninformed coworker from encountering an unknown chemical by accident. Labels can usually withstand some wear and tear, but eventually they may need to be replaced. This ensures that the vital hazard information about the chemical continues to be communicated to all who use it. That closes the book on Hazard Communication Standard. But beyond this training, there are many things you can do to keep yourself and others safe, no matter what chemicals you use or how often you use them. Remove all jewelry to avoid skin reactions. Use face and eye protection if the chemical could be splashed into your face. Be especially careful if you wear contacts, as chemical splashes or vapors can become trapped under the lenses. You may wish to talk to your supervisor about prescription safety goggles. Make sure you know where the nearest eye wash or emergency shower is located. Wash your hands thoroughly after using any chemical. Clean and store safety gear properly. Never eat, drink, or smoke near hazardous chemicals. Dispose of hazardous chemicals properly and do not mix chemical wastes. If you or a coworker must be treated for exposure to a chemical, provide the SDS to medical personnel. As long as you handle these products properly, follow the regulations, and do your part to ensure any and all hazards are communicated, these chemicals will continue to help you do your job efficiently and effectively while you keep yourself and others safe.